Hey y'all, welcome to a very special episode of
Oodles of Oodles.
As you know, I have already put up my top 11 albums of 2020. I decided, in addition to my list of best albums, I would also take an episode to talk about
Some honorable mentions.
First, the honorable mentions is Heisenberg EP Yo. Heisenberg are a Breaking Bad themed slamming brutal death metal band. I've been following these guys for a couple of years now. They've put out several EPs. They've yet to release a full length. And really, I'm pretty sure if this had been a full length, it would have made it onto my top 11 list. However, it's just an EP, 4 tracks, so I decided not to include it for that reason. Just for the fact that there were a couple bands, or several bands, that put out really awesome full lengths that I felt deserved to be recognized. This is another fantastic EP from these guys, and the minute they put out a full length, it's pretty much going to wind up on my year-end list for whatever year that ends up being. They use a lot of samples from Breaking Bad to start their songs off with, and they just obviously they have a good sense of humor. Don't take themselves too seriously, but really good slamming brutal death metal. If you've never heard Heisenberg, go out to their Bandcamp and check them out. Again, they have 3 EPs out. They're all worth owning. I own all 3 of them. Definitely check those out when you have a chance. Up next, we have Carcass with Despicable. Now, Carcass were supposed to put out a full length in 2020. I think it's supposed to be called Torn Arteries. I'm not 100% sure on that. But then at some point, they stated that they weren't going to put out the full length because of the pandemic. I'm not sure what that had to do with it, if it wasn't finished yet or what. Plenty of other bands released their albums during the pandemic, so I'm not sure what the deal with that is. Maybe it's because they won't be able to tour or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, they did give us a 4-track EP called Despicable, and it is excellent. If you like Surgical Steel, you're going to like this. If you like the slick melodic death metal version of Carcass, this is definitely excellent to check out. Some people complained about the tracks being slower tempos and what have you. I thought they were all really good personally, so I don't know. Maybe it's just me. These guys, a couple of the guys are getting up there in age. They probably don't want to play fast all the time anymore, so maybe that's why these songs are more slow to mid-pace. Whatever the case, this is some really good melodic death metal, as you can always expect from Carcass ever since Heartwork. So, if you like Carcass, you know what you're getting. It's Carcass and it's awesome, so check out Despicable. This came out on Nuclear Blast? Yeah, almost every metal band's on Nuclear Blast these days. Up next, we have some good old-fashioned gore grind from Redundant Protoplasm. This album is called Adipose Picarism, a collection of maniacal bloodlettings. This thing just totally kicks ass. It's just some old school gnarly gore grind, some good grooves, really catchy riffs on this thing. To be honest, this was a hair shy of making my top 10 list, or top 11 list as it were. Honestly, if that Pharmacist album had not come out, this probably would have been on my top 10. I like the Pharmacist album just a little bit more, but that does not take anything away from Redundant Protoplasm. They put out a really awesome old school gore grind album, and you should definitely check this out. It came out on Horror, Pain, Gore, Death Productions. If you like old school gore grind, this is excellent release for that. It's gnarly, filthy, heavy, catchy. It's just all around a good release. If I had expanded my list to a top 15, this definitely would have made it on there. It was, like I said, it was just a hair shy of not making my list this year. So, Redundant Protoplasm, Adipose Picarism, yada yada yada, long title. Check this one out. Woo! Up next, we've got Scordatura with Mass Failure. This came out on Gorehouse Productions. Excellent fucking brutal death metal here. I reviewed this on my channel, so definitely go check out the review. But yeah, this is just... It's heavy, it's technical, it's brutal as all hell, it's catchy. Some great riffs on this. All the musicianship is just tight as fuck. I can't say enough good things about Scordatura, and if you want to hear more good things, definitely go check out the review I did of them earlier this year. Gorehouse has been putting out some killer shit this year. They had a couple different things that almost made my list, but I really wanted to highlight Scordatura because this was probably my favorite release I heard from Gorehouse in 2020. This thing just kicks ass front to back. It'll bulldoze your brains in. Definitely give these guys a listen if you have not heard them before, because if you're a fan of brutal death metal, these guys are doing it just as good or better than so many bands out there. Again, that's Scordatura with Mass Failure. Up next is another album that it pained me not to include on my proper list. That is Fluids with Ignorance Exalted. It seriously pained me not to put this fucking thing on my list, but there are just a couple other death metal releases this year that I like just a little bit more. So this was just a hair shy. In fact, it was on my list for the longest time, and then there were a couple things that came along and knocked it off the list. But I can't stress to you how amazing this is. If you like Mortician, shit like that, if you like just some gnarly, vile death grind, this is the album to check out. These guys, they get compared to Mortician a lot, but they do their own thing with that sound. A lot of the samples they use are from actual true crime stuff. So, it's a whole other world of actual real horror as opposed to Mortician's kind of movie horror world. So they take that foundation of what Mortician had done before and build on it, make it even that much nastier. You've got just, as you can see from the totally gnarly ass fucking album cover art here, these guys just do down-tuned, evil-sounding, sick, nasty death metal with a drum machine that just kind of gives it that weird mechanical edge to it. And then they've got some cool synth sounds and stuff going on that they incorporate into their songs. So this is just a really creative and interesting and grotesque death metal album. And again, it really pained me not to put this on my list. If I had to do it over again, these guys might have made it on there. I don't know. Anyway, Fluids, Ignorance Exalted. This is another album I can't say enough good things about if you haven't heard it. Check these guys out. They killed it on this one. They just put out an EP here recently, which I haven't checked out yet, but it's up on their Bandcamp. I think it's going to be for a split with Oxidized Razor. So go out to Fluids Bandcamp, check out their new stuff, check out their old stuff, check out Ignorance Exalted. Up next, we have Engutterment Cephaloslamectomy with Glam Not Slam. This was also a Gorehouse Productions release, and on any other year, this probably would have made my top 11. But this year was just so amazing for metal and amazing for death metal in particular. I had the hardest time whittling it down, and this was so close to making it on there. As far as Gorehouse releases in 2020, this and Scordatura are like neck and neck. Maybe, I don't know, depending on the day, I might like this one more, I might like Scordatura more. But obviously these guys, you can tell by the band name and by the album title, they don't take themselves too seriously. They've got some amazing song titles. Knights in Slammin' Service, My Studies at the Slamming Brutal Death University, I Bless the Slams Down in Africa. But not only is it funny, as far as some of their presentations concerned, these guys are dead serious about their music, and this is just some sick slamming brutal death metal. Just some really interesting creative slams on here. Some catchy songwriting, just some gnarly heaviness going on with this album. Another one I can't say enough good things about. Gorehouse was on fire in 2020, and this is just more evidence of that. Again, this is Engutterment Cephaloslamectomy with Glam Not Slam, which again, our friends at Gorehouse put this out, so definitely check it out when you get a chance. And that, my friends, wraps up the honorable mentions for 2020. We're a couple days into 2021, so we'll be gearing up to check out some new releases, hopefully before too long. I haven't seen a lot on the release schedule so far that really piques my interest, but I'm hoping that will change. I may still review some 2020 releases that we didn't get to talk very much about, or that I didn't get to till late in the year. Whatever the case, thanks for watching, take care, and cheers. Here's to you.
Much ready to be done talking about 2020. In fact, for the most part, I'm like, fuck 2020. That shit sucked.